Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tour Pro Talks. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm Genevieve White. I'm a tourism and travel copywriter and coach, and I'm really happy to be joined today by Laura Sterian, who is an accountant who specialises in working with travel and tourism professionals. Welcome, Laura.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. It's really amazing to have you here. We've never before had anyone with us talking about accountancy, so I think we're going to learn a lot today from you. And again, welcome to everybody. If you've got any specific questions or comments, do feel free to add them. We'd love to hear them. And we'll maybe try and leave a little bit of time at the end if you've got questions as well. But do feel free to ask questions as they occur to you. So, Laura, let's begin by maybe just telling you could tell us a little bit about your journey into specializing in accountancy for the travel industry. How did you get to where you are today?
Yes, I got where I am today because I have a passion for travel, and that I've had that all my life. And when I started my accounting journey, it so happened that I helped a friend who was really troubled at the time with her travel business. And she was thinking of closing down because she had lots of debts, and she wasn't getting the support she needed. So I tried helping her out, and then I realized in around that time that really the travel industry with respect to accounting is underserved. So there
Mhm.
are lots of there's lots of compliance and lots of regulations that travel business owners have to be aware of and have to comply with, and they don't really get the help that they need. And that's what just I said, I would really like to work with this sector. I like travel anyhow. I like listening to my customers, how they plan package holidays, or they plan tours, and this is what got me into working with them.
You must get a lot of travel inspiration from your job as well. I
Yes,
imagine you are
yes,
getting
yes. Yes, true.
yes, yeah.
Yes, true. Lots of inspiration, and I love seeing what they do, and I love seeing how they themselves specialize into particular kinds of travel or particular areas of the globe, and it's really very exciting.
Do you get to travel for your job as well? Or I mean, you're based in Edinburgh, right? So are you mostly just based there, or do you sometimes have to like go and do some on-site work with your clients?
Um, I am based in Edinburgh, so that's where I live and where I have my business. But in all honesty, most of my customers are not based in Edinburgh. Most of them are actually in England, and I
Mhm.
meet with them virtually. Apparently, some good that came out of the Corona hoo-ha was that we all got used to Zooming and to meeting virtually, and it has become like a part of life that actually is bringing people closer. You don't have to actually get in your car and travel for hours to somewhere. So that works for me wonderfully, and for many other people, I'm sure. So no, I don't have customers that I have to visit somewhere in some location, though I do have some customers that drop by to leave some documents, but most of the stuff is actually virtual and digitized.
Mm, mhm, absolutely. So you can work virtually with anyone, anywhere
Yeah,
around the world.
yes, yes.
Now, for some reason, this sometimes happens, and my comments aren't showing up on this platform today, but I do know we have people watching us. We've just got Amin from Discover Pakistan say he's very pleased to be part of the discussion. So welcome, Amin, and welcome to anyone else who's watching. Do feel free to add your comments. Now, we're going to be talking, if you've just joined us, we're going to be talking about all things accountancy as it relates to the tourism and travel industry. We've got Laura with us today. And Laura, it would be really useful to know some of the typical mistakes that people make. I mean, you mentioned there your friend who'd kind of managed to get herself into a kind of terrible fix and debt. I imagine that's something that happens fairly often, is it? People start off with great intentions and then it all goes a little bit wrong. Why is that?
I think it's a general mindset nowadays, sadly, for people to think that they need to get into debt to do anything. So to get a house, you have to get into debt for 30 years, to get a car in debt for 10 years, and so on and so forth. So people are so credit card and personal loans and hire purchase and whatnot minded that and when they start out, they are afraid that they won't meet the necessary expenses of the business, so they take out loans, and then they find out that they struggle to pay, to do to make the payments. So that is one common mistake, I should say. And not just that people take money, but they don't know how to manage their finances such that they would come out of debt, and they would manage their money wisely and nicely to actually make a profit, rather than all the time throwing it on payments. So this is one, yeah, common problem that people have.
So just kind of basically, yeah, it's making that decision, knowing what your means are, the money you've got, and figuring out a way to conduct your business within those means rather than overstretching yourself. Yeah.
Yes, and also managing the money in a way. There are simple and efficient ways of managing money, such that you don't actually live from payment to payment. You can actually make a profit from your business and keep growing and enjoying life, rather than struggling to make payments and living like that.
So it's just kind of like, I mean, good financial hygiene in a way, just keeping track of what's going in, what's coming out. I mean, are there any useful techniques you could recommend to help people with that?
I usually recommend my customers to set aside money in a savings account. Now, classic banks like the high street banks, they have what is called savings accounts. But nowadays there are many online banks which are very good and very trustworthy, and they have their savings accounts are called spaces or pots, and you can have as many as you want. So I always advise people to just have at least one such saving space for saving towards taxes. One, if they're VAT registered, one should be for VAT. The moment they get payments from somewhere, they should immediately put the VAT aside into its space, because you owe that to HMRC, and there is no way not to pay them. And there should be another space where you're actually putting money for yourself anyway. So in this way, if you're disciplined, you end up in the end of the month to see that actually all of these payments that have gone out have the money already put aside, and you also have put aside for yourself whatever you decided to pay yourself, rather than the moment the money comes in, you throw it out on whatever, and you realize in the end of the month, oh my god, where's the VAT? I haven't saved for taxes. Here's the end of the tax year. I have to pay the taxes, and I don't have money. And so it's a, it's like you say, it's a good hygiene to actually save towards these goals as you get paid.
I think that's excellent advice. And I mean, it's probably quite a basic mistake to make, forgetting to save for tax, but it's a mistake I've made
Yes.
myself. Past. I think it's a mistake you only make once, because once you've done it and you scrabble around looking for that money, you're not going to make that mistake again. But it's not a nice thing to have to go through. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Laura, um, now, you spoke a little bit at the beginning. You mentioned like specific regulations that pertain specifically to people working in the travel and tourism industry. Could you say a little bit more about some of these regulations and what they are, just in case anyone's starting out and maybe isn't very sure what they are?
So there are quite a few. Some have strictly to do with accounting. Some others have to do with the industry in general, but they do have some impact on accounting. So there is the TOMS scheme for paying VAT, and this is specific. It's a scheme specific to tour operators and travel agents because of the way their turnover is calculated. And so one mistake that people make is not really realizing when they reach the VAT threshold and not declaring, not registering with HMRC. And HMRC has really, really hefty fines, and they're really, really strict on the VAT issue. So all the more if you have a specific scheme for it, which is TOMS, and you have to comply with it in a very specific way. Another scheme which is not strictly accounting but has some impact on accounting is the ATOL scheme. So it's for travel agents who have in their packages an element of flight, and it was implemented to protect the consumer in case the travel agency goes bankrupt while people are on holiday. So
Mhm.
it's a requirement. If your package has a flight element, it's a requirement to register with a scheme. And then the accounting part of it is that the scheme requires you to submit some reports, which have to be done in a specific format and have to contain certain information in order for them to continue giving you the license. And so these are like a couple. And there is also a requirement on tour operators and travel agents who, let's say, they're not necessarily selling something that has to do with flights, but they are required to offer some protection for customers' money. So
Mhm.
there are several ways in which they do that. And the accountant can help, for example, be one of the trustees for a trust account. And again, there are certain with respect to compliance for that, there are certain formats and certain information that has to be submitted in a certain way. So yes, so these are all very important, and
Yeah.
an accountant who knows how to do that is very useful.
Yeah, I can imagine. It sounds like a whole layer of things that they have to be aware of. And
Yes,
I mean,
yes, yes.
if you're just starting out in the business, I mean, is there a danger you might, not even know about some of these things, some of these regulations? Is that something that happens? People are just unaware and
Yes, yeah,
miss
yeah, it
this?
happens. Yeah, it happens. People are unaware and they get caught in one of these things. And however, the most common one has to do with overstepping the VAT threshold and not knowing to register. And that mostly comes because people are used to just seeing their accountant, or seeing virtually their accountant once a year when they have to submit the final accounts and taxes, and at that time it's already too late. Maybe you have gone over the threshold for the VAT registration for several months now and you didn't know, and HMRC is going to make you pay retroactively. So from the date when you are supposed to register, you have to give them. So where are you going to give them the money from? Your profits.
Yeah.
So one of the commonest mistakes is that people don't really engage with the accountant frequently enough. They just think that once a year I'm just gonna submit a spreadsheet to do the taxes and that's gonna be enough. And that's not, yeah, so they get themselves into trouble in that way.
That sounds scarily familiar, just engaging with your accountant once a year. I know I'm a little bit guilty of that. So how often would you recommend engaging with your accountant? I mean, or could you ask your accountant to, because people are busy and forgetful, could you say to your accountant, look, could you contact me? Ask them to remind you to check in with you or something
Uh,
like that.
yes, the simplest way that I see in this scenario is to actually have your bookkeeping done on an accounting software. This
Mhm.
is not just because it keeps you in touch with the accountant and you get real time information about where you are at with respect to turnover, to profits, to whatnot, but also because HMRC is in the process of rolling out making tax digital
Mhm.
for every type of business. So they've already made it obligatory with respect to VAT, but they are in the process of making it obligatory with respect to self-assessment and then to corporation tax. So there comes a day very soon when it will actually be obligatory to use an accounting software for the bookkeeping. And that is actually, there shouldn't be the case that HMRC makes it obligatory and that's why we do it. It should be common sense that if you use the accounting software to do your bookkeeping or to have the accountant do it, you are at all times aware of where you are at. What is your expenditure level? What is your threshold? What is your estimated turnover for the next while? And you can have some cash flow done quarterly or monthly, depending on how big the business is and what people's plans for the business are. And in this way, you don't have to wait for 1 year. You can actually have a monthly check in with the accountant, where you know what your financial position is.
Mm. So, I mean, it really sounds like a good idea to do that. I mean, especially if it is going to become obligatory, compulsory further down the line,
Yes,
you may as well just get into the habit of doing it now. But it sounds as if it would have many benefits for you and your business.
it
Is
does have.
knowledge?
It does. Yes, it
Yeah,
does have a
yeah.
lot of, and because sound bookkeeping is really the foundation for sound everything in accounting, and it's very useful and very helpful to the business owner.
Absolutely. Is there any particular accountancy software you would recommend? I mean, I'm thinking in particular of maybe kind of free stuff that people could use to even just to play around with to get their heads around if they've never done this kind of level of bookkeeping before.
All accounting softwares out there that are very popular, like QuickBooks and Xero and Free Agent, they all have. I'm not sure if they. I don't think they are free for the business owner, but they do come with like a symbolic subscription, and and yes, they are all very good. They're supposed to do the same thing. It's just a matter of preference, where, for example, I'm a Samsung user. I would never be an iPhone user, but there are people who die for an iPhone. So in that respect, there are people who are just swearing by Zero and others by QuickBooks. And oh, there is also Sage.
Mhm.
And myself, I use QuickBooks mostly. I also use Sage. I do not use Zero, simply because I think that it's better to specialize in one accounting software and be able to work with it exceptionally well, rather than spread yourself over several, since anyhow they should all do pretty much the same. But it's just a matter of personal preference and how the interface interacts with you and so on. It is true that there is a lot of there are lots of discussions and arguments going back and forth in the accounting world about ads that these accounting softwares put out there saying that, oh no, it's so easy for you to do it, see, just buy the QuickBooks subscription and you're going to be fine. But what I notice is that when I do get a new customer who has done the booking on QuickBooks, it's not done very well. So the transactions are not posted properly, so then you get the wrong financial information. So it's not as simple as the ads make it sound, but it's not rocket science either. But there are many people out there who don't have the time to do the bookkeeping, or they simply hate doing it. For them it's a very tedious menial job, so they would rather delegate it to me or to someone, to an accountant, to do it, rather than worry that they've posted some transaction wrong, or that I don't have time to do it, I would rather do something else. And yeah.
Absolutely. I'm a great believer in work to your strengths. So if you find something
Yes.
difficult or tedious, and if there's other things that you know you can do well and do better, you focus on these things. And then, yeah, leave the numbers to people like yourself who know what they're doing. It's always a good policy, isn't it? We got
Yes.
some lovely comments here, Laura. They're not coming up here, but I'm looking at them on my phone. Richard Gathiki says, too informative. So I guess it's a good thing if it's too informative. It's very informative. So, yeah, I hope so. I'm
I don't
certainly
like
getting a lot.
philosophy, to be honest. I don't like philosophy. I like 1 + 1 = 2. So, so give me
No,
some
I think if
information that is practical.
it's a definite compliment, he's giving you a light bulb and a thumbs up. So he's definitely finding it useful. Okay, as am I. And just quickly on the topic of accountancy software as well, I think some banks sometimes give you, if you do business banking, I know my business banking account gives me some free software, which I haven't used yet, but I'm going to use it, especially after talking to you, Laura. Okay, next question, because I'm keeping my eye on the time as ever. I don't want you to run over, but just a very quick question about tourism businesses who want to scale their business, who want to grow. I mean, what accountancy advice could you give for somebody who is wanting to grow their business?
So
Anything they
besides the
should.
basic Yeah, so besides the basics of like we've just discussed, having good and solid bookkeeping, I would say that if they want to scale, then they should have a cash flow reporting in place, and management accounts. And depending on how quickly they want to scale and where they are at, they could have that done either monthly or quarterly. And that is exactly the way to know where they are at, what they can expect, what scenarios could happen, and in what way those scenarios could impact them. And yes, so best of advice, cash flow forecasting and management accounts.
Mhm. Okay, yep, that sounds like excellent advice. Just talking a little bit, maybe this is more of a personal question, but would you be able to share maybe a case study of someone you've worked with where your intervention really helped them to improve their financial management, and just say a little bit about what the problem was and what you did to help them and what the result was?
Yeah, certainly. I had a customer. Well, I've been having him, but at the time I had a new customer. He was a new customer, and he approached me because as he described it, his accounts were in a mess, and it turns out he indeed didn't have the bookkeeping done, which I'm very strong on. And he wasn't able to make all the necessary payments in his business. So I set him up on an accounting software, and we started going through his bookkeeping, and I advised him to have those spaces that we talked about so that he would save for taxes. And eventually he got out of that mess, and he's a happy camper at the moment.
Happy camper. I like it. And I mean, I suppose on your website, you speak about helping your clients to feel emotionally and financially free. So I guess he would also be a really good example of that, wouldn't he?
Yes, yes. My aim is for people to feel, when it comes to their money, to feel like the stress is gone and they are in control of their finances, and they know where they are going and what they need to do or should do, and basically they should be stress free. And my I'm very passionate about financial freedom as well, so if they want to go for that, I'm all behind them, support them in that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, money can be a huge stressor. And I think it's something that people, they often push their kind of money worries to the side. But if you
Yeah,
untangle these knotty
yeah,
issues, you can just feel so
yeah.
much better about everything, really, not just your
Yes,
business.
yes, yes, yes,
Laura,
true.
what advice would you give to somebody who's just starting out in a career in the tourism travel industry? If you could just, yeah, boil down your advice, what key advice would you give? You've given lots of
Mm,
advice already this session, but what would be your most important piece of advice?
the most important piece of advice: to be aware of the regulations in this industry and to get a good accountant who knows about the
Mhm.
regulations. Yeah.
Okay, okay, excellent. Yeah, because I mean, I suppose if without an accountant, it's very easy to miss out on things, isn't it? Just to have
Yes,
a nasty surprises.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, it's happened
Because
to me.
every Yeah. Because we usually, people, when they start out in business, they have dreams that they started out with, and they have some expectations and some goals, and money plays a huge part of those dreams and expectations. So it should not be taken lightly. It should be, money should be taken seriously. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, they say money can't buy you happiness, but it definitely helps, right?
It, yeah.
Um, Laura, how if people are watching this and thinking, "Oh, I'd like to work with Laura or find out more about working with her," what's the best way of finding you? Obviously, you're on LinkedIn. What other channels are you active on, or how can people find out more information about you and your work?
So, with respect to social media, I'm mostly active on LinkedIn because I'm not really I do have an Instagram account, but I'm not really an Instagram I still am very literate with respect to Instagram. But so I'm on with respect to social media, I'm on LinkedIn, and otherwise I have my website, which I have put a lot of work into. It has lots of blogs on very helpful topics and lots of very useful information. So I give great importance to my website. So whoever wants to get in touch besides LinkedIn, they could just go on my website and have their very useful information, including how to contact me. And yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, your website is amazing. Thank you. And there's,
Oh,
for
thank
some
you.
reason, Sarah's comment's the only one that's come up on my screen. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, Sarah. And I actually do have one more question for you, Laura. It's a bit of a fun one, to do with budget and travel. But if you had an unlimited budget for a year-long sabbatical to travel the world, where would you go?
I would do city breaks in cities where there is some history, like even though from like archaeological sites to medieval castles to anything that is history related. So I'm not really the person who is backpacking and going for the great outdoors and kayaking or whatnot, which I'm sure that's great fun for people who have the right personality. But I'm more like a city break person, so I would go around the world to major cities in Europe, and I would go to major cities in the US, and I would go to Japan, and I would visit all of the cities and whatever history they have there.
Hmm. Sounds exciting. It sounds like expensive as well, though. Cities are always a lot more expensive than
Oh,
backpacking and
you
camping,
gave me
stuff
you
like that.
gave me an unlimited budget, so
I forgot about that part of the question. Sorry, yeah. I should really have given you a budget because that would have been a good test of your
Yeah.
accountancy skills. But yeah.
But really,
Oh well.
really, when I'm on
Right.
holidays, I do see people with a backpack, and they just have that's all their luggage. There's this backpack, and they go and travel, and I'm like, oh wow, I have to have like so many suitcases and so many stars hotels. So yeah, so each one with their personality. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Laura, thank you so much. This has been so
Thank you
informative.
too.
I'd like to say to everybody who's watching as well, I know that Laura's covered a lot of ground here. I'm going to be summarising everything Laura said in the newsletter, which comes out next week. And actually, Laura very helpfully sent me some extra information before the chat, and we've not been able to discuss all of the points. So if it's okay with you, Laura, I might include some of that
Yes,
information as well in the
definitely.
newsletter,
Yes.
because that will really help people who've been watching today.
Yes, sure.
So yes, go and think long and hard about your finances and your bookkeeping and your financial health. I know I will be after talking to Laura today. And yeah, thank you again, Laura. That was really helpful.
Thank you.
And
Thank you. Thank you too. Thank you for having me here and for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much.
oh, my pleasure. It's been great. And thank you, everybody. See you on another Tour Pro Talks very soon. Goodbye.
Goodbye.